Yes, Yashika, living organism can grow, non-living organism cannot. So that's one basic difference. Okay. So I would invite more comments on the chat, on the public chat. Please keep adding what is to living and what is to non-living. Just keep adding. I'll keep on adding in my list. Yes, Yashika, living can breathe. Living organisms can breathe. Non-living organisms do
Ma'am,
not breathe.
heartbeat. Ma'am, heartbeat.
Yes,
Living
okay.
have heartbeat.
Okay. See, but then again, you're talking only about animals. Then what about plants? Plants do not have heartbeat, right? We are talking in general about living. So if she's saying
Living.
breathing, yeah, I'm talking about breathing. It living. It could be plants. It could be animals. It could be microorganisms as well, right? So living, the smallest unit is cell. Very good. Non-living, the smallest unit is atom. Not molecules, but atoms. They need food for growth, development and repair. Non-living do not require food. Do not require food. Yes, please do.
Living things need to locomote to get food, so food
Yes.
can actually
So we have written that point already. They need to move or locomote.
Mama, have an important point.
Yes, tell me.
That living organisms reproduce and non-living organisms don't reproduce.
Very good. Excellent point. So reproduce. Living things reproduce. Non-living things do not reproduce. So reproduction doesn't happen in non-living things. Okay.
And also they need energy, living things. But non-living things do not need energy.
See, that can be covered. That can be covered in food. That can be covered in food itself. Food gives us energy in living organisms. Non-living do not have food. They do not require energy.
Ma'am, living things need blood and non-living things don't have any blood.
So what about plants then, Monica? When I'm discussing living, it would cover both plants and animals.
Ma'am, that criteria keeps,
Yeah. So basically, one second, Neha. So Vamika, in your point, what you could say is that they require a fluid for transportation. In case of animals, it is blood. In case of plants,
they have transportation.
Transportation.
Ma'am, but I didn't know that blood helps in transport.
Of course, blood is the only thing which helps in transportation. Right? Blood is the substance, blood is the material which helps to carry the oxygen from the lungs to the heart and to the different parts of the body. You know, now that you're breathing, inhaling oxygen, how do you think it goes to all the cells of your body? It goes to the heart. How? Who takes it? Blood. Yes, blood takes it. Correct. Similarly, in plants, you know, as in animals, there are blood vessels, like there are arteries, there is veins and all. In plants, we have xylem and the phloem. Right? There is something called a cell sap. Instead of the blood, in plants, they have a cell sap, which is the transportation material, right? Which carries, you know, xylem carries water and phloem carries food. Just like blood vessels carry blood, plasma, RBC, WBC, similarly xylem and phloem carry water and blood. These are the transportation. So living organisms require transportation medium. Non-living things do not require. Very good, Neha. So living organisms can sense. Non-living organisms do not have that sense. Very good. Yes, Yashika, we have mentioned that living things reproduce, non-living things do not reproduce. Emotion, very good. So there is a sense of emotion.
Ma'am, thoughts.
Thoughts, that again is animals. Animals. Emotion is also restricted to animals. When I say living, it will be both think on aspect of plants and animals.
Ma'am, then it will not come in that, right? Then how you could write it as emotion?
No, emotion will not come. That's what I'm saying. It will not come. Even sense, to an extent, will not come. Sensory will not come. But I still have written sense because there is mimosa pudica. Thigmotropy. Remember,
And
Mimamsa Pudica?
also Venus flytrap.
Even we
Bacteria and large elephant and everything in between. Different types of plants and animals are found in different areas. Example, deserts have camel and cactus as plant. Beaches show coconut trees and carbs, etc.
it's crabs.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So basically here they want to say that anything that is microscopic, as in it can be made out of one cell. This is as small as one cell, which we also known as unicellular. What is unicellular? Made out of one cell only. Living organisms can range from one cell to multicellular. And how huge can a multicellular be? It could be that of a blue whale. It could be a mammoth elephant. Right? So anything in between in this range which have cells are known as living organisms. It could be unicellular, it could be multi. What is the meaning of uni? Uni means one. Multi means more than one. So that is how they have framed the word unicellular and multicellular.
Ma'am, is human being is multicellular?
Of course, we have trillions and trillions of cells. Anything that you can't see one cell, isn't it? That is microscopic. You have to see it under the microscope. Human beings are visible. They are so big. You know, for example, if you just take the stomach, right? The stomach itself is made out of thousands and thousands and millions of cells. So think of the entire human body. It is made out of trillions and trillions of cells.
Ma'am?
Right? Yes.
Ma'am, can a unicellular animal or living thing be visible to the naked eye?
See, there is a catch, right? Tell me one unicellular organism which is big enough for us to see.
Ma'am, I think maybe.
So the answer to your question is both yes and no. Because if it is a cell, ideally it should not be seen. But there is one thing, you know, which is unicellular but can be seen. What is this? An egg. An egg is unicellular. It has only one nucleus. It is the biggest unicellular organism.
Okay, ma'am,
Right?
that's interesting.
That's interesting, but only to a certain stage. But after a certain stage, you know, the nucleus starts dividing. So from one cell, it becomes 2, from 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. So that happens very rapidly till the time, you know, the egg has a small chick inside it. It has a small chick inside it, right? So then it is no more a unicellular. It becomes a multicellular. So the moment a hen lays an egg, right? A chicken lays an egg,
Yes,
that's unicellular. It can happen in anything. You know, the moment an animal lays an egg, that very moment it's unicellular. But after a few days, inside the cell, the nucleus starts dividing, so it becomes multicellular. So this is the biggest unicellular organism, which is an egg. It could be any egg. Ostrich egg is obviously supposed to be the largest unicellular organism on this planet.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, you know, this is what they meant, right? From a microscopic organism to a large elephant, everything in between is living. Whichever has cells has life. Whichever has life will breathe. Whichever breathes will require food. Whichever has food will excrete.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask one thing, that does bacteria breathe?
See, you know, that is a very tricky question. You know why? Because bacteria is something which is neither living nor non-living, right? A bacteria always needs a medium, a living medium. Only once for example, this is a bacteria. Once the bacteria gets into a living medium, only then a bacteria can grow, have its food, get its shelter, you know, reproduce and do everything. But if it is left idle in the air, it can't do much. Similarly, in case of a virus, why are we discussing so much about virus? The virus, if this was a virus, if it is left open in the air, it is nothing. It is neither living nor non-living. It is neither a plant nor an animal, right? But when this virus enters a living organism, it could be a human being, right? The moment it gets inside a human being or an animal, once the virus gets inside, it grows prolifically. Why? Because inside the human body, it gets food, ready-made food, it gets oxygen, it gets water, सब कुछ ready-made मिल जाता है. It doesn't have to do anything. So the virus grows at a prolific rate. Right, Fawaz? So basically habitat is where the animals live. So basically, a habitat, right, habitat has a suitable environment for particular animals and non-living things, yes. So a habitat will have both living things as well as non-living things. It will have both. That is known as a habitat, right? For example, just look at this picture here. It has got mountains, it has got grass, it has got animals, it has got crow, it has got sky, it might have some rocks. So everything put together is a habitat, right? It is not only that we are discussing only about living organisms. So when we talk about desert, when we talk about desert being an habitat, so it consists of camels, it consists of scorpion, it consists of certain kind of crabs, it consists of cactus, it consists of sand, it consists of palms. It also consists of certain rocks, pebbles. Everything combined together will form yes, Pragya, snakes. Snakes. Everything put together will form a desert habitat. So we'll have to take into consideration both living as well as non-living organism.
Like air is a non-living organism and non-living thing, and every animal and plant needs air to survive, and also water.
Very good.
And both animals and plants need water to survive, and they live in coharmony together.
Very good. That's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. So now, for example, getting back to the same desert habitat, right? I'm getting back to the same desert habitat, right? Now in that desert, there is a lot of sand, right? And what are the properties of sand? They are very loosely packed. They are very loosely packed, isn't it? Even if you put your feet in the sand, your feet will go, kind of into the sand, right? So for snakes, this is a way to hide. If the sand was, for example, this is a snake, right? If it was just outside, it would have got very, very hot because of that extreme weather condition, heat, right? So what it does is that it burrows inside the sand and it lies somewhere a little deep. This is how a snake stays, and it is possible only if it is a sand. It is difficult to do it in hard soil. So is the case with scorpion. So is the case with certain crabs. If it was not sand, it would have been difficult for them to burrow and come down to keep themselves cool. Because all of you know, till a certain extent the sand is hot, but further down it is very cool. So they cool off themselves. They are after all cold-blooded. They cool off themselves by digging deep. This is a cactus. Cactus has spines like this, right? So what are these spines and what is this green flesh succulent substance? What is it?
The thorns are the leaves and the green.
So the thorns are leaves. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. So we don't call it cones. What do we call it?
Spines.
Spines. We call it the spines. And what are these big, huge leaf-like structure basically?
They're stems.
They are the stems. Very good. So they are the stems. Now nature has designed it in such a way that, if it's green in color, that means what does it do? What is it capable to do?
Photosynthesis.
Photosynthesis, because if anything that is green in color will have chlorophyll, and if something has chlorophyll, it will do photosynthesis, right? Now, but what was the need? Why did not they have to do the leaves like this? Why did they have to modify the leaves into spine? Any idea?
Yeah, ma'am, I can answer.
Okay.
Because many animals come near it, and these plants are xerophytes, so they are basically in deserts. They have a lot of water content, that because of that many animals come near them, and they may take them up or maybe pull them out. That's why they are having spines.
Very good. So basically, anyways, in a desert, it's, devoid of water. And the moment a camel or a goat or some animal comes and finds, some fleshy green substance, it would obviously come and eat. But to keep the animals at bay, nature has designed it in such a way that with the help of the spines, the animals will stay at bay. They will not even come in front. Right? So most of the desert plants you will see, they are either spiny or they are scaly. Or else, the trees are so big, so tall that, the leaves are much above. For example, palm. In desert, you must have seen the palm trees are so tall. The leaves are out here and the animals are out here. So the animals can't even, reach out to the leaves.